what concerns me about what Israel is doing is not their efforts to get rid of Hamas, but because of the particular nature of Hamas embedding themselves amongst civilian populations with the massive amounts of civilian casualties that will inevitably come, and that figure will grow and grow and grow. Are we not, as Barack Obama warned, are we not creating here just an opportunity for far greater radicalisation of all those young Palestinians who watched their loved ones get killed? Why would we imagine that at the end of all this, they're going to want to do anything other than to become a new version of Hamas in wanting to exact revenge for what happened to their families?
Well, two things. One is, if you just follow the logic of what Barack Obama said, then you just shouldn't do anything. If you're Israel, you should be attacked and just sit back and say, great, we'll wait for the next one. But the second and more important thing is, your question supposes that there is a sort of peaceful Palestinian population in the Gaza who would love a two-state solution, and then a few bad apples in Hamas. I think that's not true. Why is it that when one of the victims of the music festival, a poor young German Jewish girl, who it seems was raped and then brutally murdered and taken into the Gaza naked. Why was it that you can find, and anyone can find this online, a crowd of ordinary Gazans? It wasn't Hamas, it wasn't a Hamas rally. Ordinary Gazans spitting on her body, hitting her body, mutilating her body further as it went down the street. Does that strike you, Piers, as a placid population of peacenik types who are just desperately waiting for a two-state solution to be put back on the table for the millionth time in the last 70-something years? It doesn't seem like that to me.
No, but there are over 2 million people in Gaza, and there weren't 2 million people in that video clip. There were a few hundred. So I don't like to make...
Yeah, well, a few hundred at random. A few hundred at random. And did you see anyone in it saying, hey, guys, stop. We're not meant to mutilate the bodies of girls or rape them in public? No, I didn't see that.
But then what you're really articulating, correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't what you're articulating really an endorsement of collective punishment, where you assume they're all guilty?
No.
And if they don't stand up to Hamas, they're also guilty. Well, and that's where people have a problem, I think, with the moral line here, which is if you hold all the Gazans equally responsible, then is that not collective punishment, which is illegal?
Well, first of all, there is some responsibility for the peoples in the Gaza. If you elect Hamas and they kill Fatah, and then they remain in power for all of the years afterwards, I'm afraid that there is some responsibility of the people in that situation. You know, when the Germans had Adolf Hitler come to power and voted for him, we in Britain took the view that the German people were responsible in some way. So I'm not for collective punishment per se, but nor am I for this idea that there is something unique going on in the Israeli-Gaza context that we in Britain couldn't understand.
Actually, there is one unique thing.
In our own history, there is very similar things.
But there is one unique thing, which is that the population of Gaza is pretty unique in that nearly half of the population are children. That is a unique situation.
No, I'll tell you what's unique about the population of Gaza. It's the only population in the world where people routinely claim Israelis are committing genocide, but which has a population boom all of the time. I mean, that strikes me as being quite an interesting thing about the Gaza. But as for the moral criticality, I want to make a very, very important point, if I can say so, on this, which is, you know, people quite often abuse history, and they say things all the time. I mean, about the only thing anyone from history knows is about the Nazis. Here's something I can tell you with absolute certainty, Piers, having not just seen some of the results of what Hamas did on the ground here in Israel a few weeks ago, but having watched the videos of the unedited footage, which I was one of the journalists was sadly allowed to see the other day. I can tell you one thing: the comparison between Hamas and the Nazis is insufficient. And sorry, there's an incoming.
Get safe, Douglas.
Come.
So, okay. Anyhow, we're okay.
Are you okay?
Let's just. Yeah. It's fine. Sorry, it was a rocket coming. It looked like it was just going to land on us here.
Which way was that rocket coming from?
Okay.
Was it coming from Gaza or from Israel?
Yes, it seemed to be coming from Gaza. So, yeah, it's fine. It's okay. It's been happening all day. Let me just finish this point, if I may.
Before we go on, Douglas, Atman, how does that make
Sure.
How does that make you feel? What just happened there?
I mean, it's I'm a little used to it. I was in Ukraine last year and was in Kherson and Odessa and Mykolaiv, and when the Russians were shelling it, so I'm a little used to it. But just if I can just finish this point, sorry, there's a lot of banging going on, but anyway, we'll keep going.
Well, look, if you need to stop, Douglas, we understand.
No, don't worry. If we need to stop, I'll run to the shelter, I assure you. The thing that struck me, Piers, about seeing the 7th of October footage was that even the Nazis were actually ashamed of what they did. SS battalions who spent their days shooting Jews in the back of the head and pushing them into trenches had to get very, very drunk in the evening to forget what they had done. The Nazi high command famously had to sort of get around the problem of soldier morale because the soldiers knew this wasn't exactly what their lives were meant to look like either. I tell you one very big difference. If you look at the footage, the raw footage, and I really hope people don't on a wider scale have to view what I viewed the other day, if they see it, they will see something that is at least as barbaric as what the Nazis did. But here's the difference. They did it with glee. They were deeply proud. You see people trying to, taking the head off a young Israeli man with a shovel and then calling their parents back in Gaza and telling them, Father, Father, I've killed 10 Jews with my own hands. Get mother on the phone. I want to tell her how great a job her son has done. I come back to this thing. I'm not exaggerating this. It's very, very interesting, and people need to realize. You had this situation with the Nazis, where they also were a genocidal anti-Semitic organization, but they tried to cover their crimes up. Hamas are actually proud of them, and they've said they will do them until the whole world is clear of Jews.
Yeah.
So I suggest we take that seriously, and I think that Israel is taking it seriously. I hope they continue to take it seriously, but I think the world should take it seriously, and that includes Britain. And when I hear British journalists, British commentators, and British politicians lecturing the Israelis on what they should do, I think, I'm sorry, this shows a failing in our country. It shows that we in Britain cannot enforce our laws. We don't even enforce our borders in Britain. It's us that is the weak link in the international security chain on this, not Israel.